There are nights when the sky does something different. It is not the brightness that changes. It is not the apparent size of the celestial body or the configuration of the surrounding stars. It is something more subtle, a quality in the atmosphere, a gentle pressure in the energetic field, a sensation that arrives before any thought and that most people dismiss as imagination or accumulated fatigue. But you who are here know how to distinguish between the two. Tonight, the moon rising on the horizon is not an ordinary moon. It carries a designation that the Pleiadians themselves recognize in their records as a cycle event, a moment in which the lunar frequency reaches a specific configuration that does not repeat with regularity, and that when it occurs, produces effects in the collective field of Earth that go far beyond what ordinary perception can detect. The Pleiadians call this event the blue frequency. Not because the moon changes color, but because the frequency it carries at this specific moment corresponds, on the vibrational scale that the High Council uses to classify planetary energetic events, to the range of deep blue, the same range as alcyone, the same range encoded in the DNA of the starseeds who chose to be here. Tonight did not arrive by chance for you. The signal was sent. And you are receiving it. For centuries, humanity observed this phenomenon and tried to explain it within the systems it had available. Calendars. Agricultural cycles. Omens. Astrological systems built over millennia to map the influence of celestial bodies on life on Earth. Each of these traditions captured something real, a part of the truth that was available within the limits of perception that civilization had developed up to that moment. But none of them reached the root. The blue moon, within the understanding of the Pleiadian High Council, is not primarily an astronomical event. It is a transmission event. The moon functions, in the energetic architecture of this solar system, as a field amplifier. It does not generate its own frequency, it receives, processes and retransmits the frequencies that arrive from more distant sources. Most of the time, this retransmission occurs within parameters that the human field is already calibrated to receive and process without major disturbances. But at specific moments in the cycle, moments that the High Council's records identify with precision and that coincide with what Earth's systems call the blue moon, the moon enters a configuration of expanded amplification. What does this mean in practice? It means that the frequencies it retransmits at this moment are not the usual frequencies. They are frequencies that come from further away. Frequencies that carry a different quality, denser in information, more direct in their impact on the human emotional and energetic field, more capable of penetrating the protective layers that ordinary consciousness maintains around what it does not want to see. This is why during a blue moon people feel more. Not because they are weaker or more vulnerable, but because the signal arriving is stronger. And a stronger signal reveals what a weaker signal left covered. What is being revealed in you tonight is not new. It is what was always there, waiting for a signal strong enough to emerge. There is a reason why this specific moment of the cycle is associated, in all traditions that preserve some memory of stellar knowledge, with closures. Not with losses. Not with failures. With closures. The distinction is fundamental. A loss is something that happens to you, an involuntary subtraction, withdrawal that was not chosen. A closure is something different, it is the recognition that a cycle has completed its function. That what was initiated at a certain moment has already delivered what it had to deliver. That continuing is not loyalty, it is resistance to the natural movement of the field. The Pleiadian High Council has a name for what the blue frequency activates in individual fields during this event. They call it the closure code, an activation sequence that is sleeping in the deep layers of every starseed's consciousness and that, when the lunar amplification reaches the correct threshold, begins to fire. When the closure code fires, you begin to see with a clarity that was previously absent. You see which relationships have already completed their cycle. Not with judgment, with recognition. You see which environments are draining your frequency instead of sustaining it. You see which versions of yourself you have been carrying out of habit, out of fear, out of not wanting to disappoint, versions that no longer correspond to what you truly are. None of this arises as crisis. It arises as clarity. And clarity, however uncomfortable it may be in the moment it arrives, is always a gift. It is the field saying, you are ready for the next level. And the next level begins with the honest closure of what was left behind. Tonight, the code is firing. You feel it. And now we ask you to do something simple, a sovereign act of recognition of what is being revealed in your field tonight. Write in the comments. I am ready to close what no longer serves me. What you have been feeling these days is not weakness. It is not emotional instability. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you or that you have regressed in some aspect of your development. It is not the result of external circumstances that need to be resolved before you can feel well again. It is the field in motion. When the blue frequency activates the closure code in individual fields, the first response the body registers is not mental, it is emotional. The emotional system is the most sensitive instrument of perception that the human body possesses. It detects changes in the energetic field before the conscious mind has any vocabulary to describe them. This is why you may wake up with a sadness that has no apparent cause. Or feel an irritation that does not correspond to any specific event of your day. Or experience a wave of longing for something you cannot name, a nostalgia that belongs to no place or moment in this life, but to something older, vaster, more fundamental. The Pleiadian High Council describes this state as the field's response to frequency movement. It is not suffering. It is processing. Just as the physical body produces heat when processing an infection, not as a sign that it is failing, but as evidence that it is working, the emotional system produces intensity when processing a frequency change. The intensity is the work being done. The most common mistake starseeds make at this moment is trying to interrupt the processing. Seeking distraction. Anesthetizing the field with noise, with busyness, with the narrative that feeling so much is excessive or inadequate. But interrupting the processing does not eliminate what was being processed, it only pushes it back into the deeper layers of the field, where it will remain until the next wave of frequency creates a new opportunity for emergence. Tonight, let the field move. It is not necessary to understand everything that is arising. It is not necessary to resolve anything now. It is only necessary to be present with what is happening, to witness the processing with the trust that the field knows what it is doing. You are not falling apart. You are reorganizing around a more truthful frequency. There is something the blue frequency does with particular precision. It makes visible what was being sustained by effort rather than by resonance. Most people do not perceive the difference between these two types of connection while they are inside them. When you are investing energy to keep something functioning, a relationship, a friendship, a work dynamic, a version of yourself the other person expects to find, that investment becomes so habitual that it begins to feel natural. You stop noticing the cost because the cost has become the norm. The blue frequency removes that anesthesia. Suddenly, the effort becomes visible. Suddenly, you perceive how much energy was being directed toward sustaining something that does not sustain itself. Suddenly, the asymmetry that was always there, but that the mind preferred not to calculate, becomes impossible to ignore. This is not a judgment about the people involved. The Pleiadian High Council is very clear on this point. When a relationship cannot withstand the blue frequency, it does not mean that there was error, failure, or bad faith on anyone's part. It means that two fields that were operating at compatible frequencies at a certain moment in the cycle have reached a point where that compatibility is no longer sustainable. The fields grew in different directions. And fields that grow in different directions eventually reach a point where maintaining the connection costs more frequency than it returns. What to do with this perception? It is not necessary to act immediately. The blue frequency reveals, it does not demand. What it asks is only internal honesty, the recognition of what is being seen, without the need to immediately transform it into a decision or a difficult conversation. First, see. Then, at the right time, with the clarity that this processing will generate, you will know what to do with what you saw. For now, it is enough to stop pretending you did not see it. There is a type of clarity that is not welcome when it arrives. Not because it is false. Precisely because it is true. For a long time, the mind found ways to make ambiguity comfortable. Maybe. With time. Things change. Let's see. Each of these phrases is a sophisticated way of postponing the encounter with something that the deepest part of you already knows, and has known for longer than you would like to admit. The blue frequency has no patience for comfortable ambiguity. It does not arrive to destroy. It arrives to complete. And to complete means to bring to the level of conscious awareness what the deeper consciousness has already processed, already evaluated, and already reached a conclusion about, but that the ordinary mind was still resisting acknowledging because acknowledgement has consequences. The Pleiadian High Council describes this moment as the encounter with what is already known. It is not a revelation in the sense of something new being discovered. It is a revelation in the most precise sense of the word, a lifting of the veil over what was always there, waiting to be seen without the distortion of what you hoped was true, of what would be more convenient to be true, of what you needed to be true so that certain past choices would make sense. This clarity hurts because it implies responsibility. As long as you do not know for certain, you do not have to act. As long as there is genuine ambiguity, there is the possibility that time will resolve things for you. But when clarity arrives, when you see it face to face, without the veil, not acting also becomes a choice. And a conscious choice carries a different weight than unconscious inaction. But here is what the High Council wants you to understand about this specific pain. It is not the sign that you are losing something. It is the sign that you are arriving somewhere. The clarity that hurts is the clarity that transforms. And transformation, however uncomfortable it may be in the moment of crossing, is always movement toward a version of you that is more aligned with the frequency you came to bring to this world. Tonight, honor the clarity. Do not run from it. Do not soften it. Do not negotiate it back into ambiguity because ambiguity is more comfortable. Write in the comments. I trust the clarity even when it hurts. You have been sleeping differently lately. Perhaps the dreams have been more vivid than usual, with a cinematic quality, a precision of detail, an emotional intensity that persists long after you have woken up. Perhaps you have been waking at unusual hours, with the clear sensation that you were somewhere important and were brought back before you were ready to return. Perhaps you simply cannot sleep the way you used to, the mind active, the field restless, a sense of waiting that has no identifiable object. This is not sleep disturbance. It is transmission traffic. During periods of lunar amplification, and especially during the blue frequency, the activity in the communication channels between the incarnated consciousness and the higher fields of perception increases significantly. The sleep state is the moment when the protective layers that the ordinary mind maintains around consciousness become more permeable. It is when the traffic that was trying to arrive during the day finally finds passage. The dreams that arrive in this period are not random processing of daytime memories. They are transmissions. The Pleiadian High Council uses the sleep state as one of the primary channels of communication with incarnated starseeds, precisely because it is the state in which the resistance of the analytical mind is at its lowest level. What arrives as image, symbol, emotion or narrative during sleep does not need to be interpreted literally. But it deserves to be taken seriously. And there is something more happening beyond the dreams. The coincidences are multiplying. You think of someone, and they make contact. You come across information that answers exactly the question you were carrying internally but had not yet formulated in words. You hear a song, read a phrase, see an image, and something in you recognizes it as a response, not as chance. The High Council calls these events field confirmations. They are not coincidences in the statistical sense. They are the field responding to its own frequency, returning to the surface of your conscious experience signals that confirm that the processing occurring in deeper layers is on the right path. Every coincidence you recognize as meaningful this week is a confirmation. The field is communicating. You are being guided. And the intuition that arises in this period, that sudden knowing that arrives whole, without reasoning process, with a certainty the mind cannot justify but the body recognizes immediately, is not imagination. It is stellar intelligence arriving through the channel that the blue frequency opened. Trust it. There is something you know you need to decide. This is not an assumption. It is not a projection of something that may be happening somewhere in your life. It is a direct statement, because the blue frequency does not arrive for people who have nothing to decide, and you who are here, who have arrived at this point in this transmission, did not arrive by chance. There is a decision waiting. It may be large, the kind that reorganizes the structure of your life in ways that will be visible to everyone around you. Or it may be small in appearance but enormous in consequence, the decision to stop pretending you are fine with something you are not, the decision to speak a truth that has been postponed, the decision to allow yourself to want what you want without apologizing for it. The Pleiadian High Council observes that most starseeds do not have difficulty seeing what needs to be decided. The difficulty lies elsewhere. It lies in the space between seeing and acting. In the moment when clarity has arrived, when the decision has become visible with a sharpness that no longer allows honest denial, and the moment when the field moves toward the corresponding action. This space has a name within the High Council's tradition. They call it the sovereignty interval. It is the moment when you are between what was and what will be. When the old cycle has already ended internally but has not yet ended externally. When the decision has already been made in some deeper layer of the field but has not yet been expressed in the physical world. The interval can last an instant or it can last months. What determines its duration is not the complexity of the decision, it is the degree of sovereignty with which you are willing to inhabit it. The more you retreat into repetitive analysis, into the search for more guarantees, into asking permission from external sources to do what your own field already knows needs to be done, the longer the interval becomes. The more you trust the intelligence of what was revealed, the shorter it becomes. The blue frequency of tonight is compressing the interval. It is making it more difficult to remain in the zone of infinite analysis. More difficult to continue seeking guarantees that no one can provide. More difficult to ignore the growing weight of what is waiting to be decided. We are not asking you to make the decision now. We are asking you to stop pretending you do not know what it is. That recognition, simple, silent, without an audience, is the beginning. You have arrived here. Through 8 transmissions that were, each in their own way, a mirror. That showed what the blue frequency is activating in your field tonight, the closures that are asking for recognition, the emotions that are asking for passage, the relationships that are asking for honesty, the clarity that is asking for courage, the decisions that are asking for sovereignty. And now the practical question, what do you do with all of this? The Pleiadian High Council's answer is simpler than you might expect. You do not need to do anything tonight. Not in the sense of external action. You do not need to send that message, have that conversation, make that decision, reorganize that area of your life, not now, not in haste, not under the emotional pressure of a field that is in full processing. What you need to do tonight is much simpler and much more powerful than any external action. You need to receive. The blue frequency did not arrive to push you toward precipitate action. It arrived to complete a cycle of preparation, to bring to the surface what was ready to emerge, to make visible what was ready to be seen, to activate what was ready to be activated. The work of tonight is reception, not execution. Sit in silence for a few minutes after this transmission ends. Not with the goal of meditating formally or following any specific protocol. Simply sit, with your eyes closed, and allow the field to organize itself around what was revealed. Let the perceptions settle. Let the emotions complete their movement. Let the clarity consolidate without the interference of the mind that immediately wants to transform everything into an action plan. The High Council has a specific instruction for tonight. Before sleeping, ask your field a question, not your mind, your field, and then simply sleep. Without consciously seeking the answer. Without trying to construct the answer through analysis. The question is this: what am I ready to let go of that I have not yet let go of? The answer will come. It may come as a dream. It may come as the first perception of the morning, before the ordinary mind fully wakes. It may come as a sudden certainty in the middle of a completely different activity in the coming days. But it will come. Because the blue frequency opened a channel tonight that did not exist yesterday. And through that channel, the intelligence that was always available to you, but that the density of daily life frequently obscures, has free passage. You are in a moment of simultaneous closure and expansion. What closes is not you. It is the version of you that served the cycle that is completing itself. And what expands is what was always waiting on the other side of that closure, the version of you that was already ready but did not yet have space to exist because the space was occupied by what needed to be closed. Tonight, the blue moon illuminated that space. What you do with it is your most sovereign choice. And now, for the last time in this transmission, we ask for a simple act of sovereign recognition. Write in the comments: I am ready for what comes after the closure. The blue moon illuminated the path. The closure is the portal. And you, exactly you, with everything you are carrying and everything you are letting go of, are already on the other side.